You know, it's funny. With all the amazing websites and apps out there these days for travel, I've been thinking, why do people still love those physical travel guides so much?
Yeah, it's true. It's like we've got all the info in the world, right, on our phones.
Right.
But there's something about having that actual book, especially if you're planning a trip to a place like Japan, which is so different from many other places.
It's true. I think there's something exciting about opening a guidebook, seeing the pictures, reading about the different places. It really gets you in the mood for the trip. And actually, that's what we're diving into today. We're talking about how to choose the perfect Japan guidebook. We're getting some help from Rob Dyer, who's been traveling to Japan since, get this, 2000.
Wow, 2000.
Yeah, he's got this great article on The Real Japan all about it.
Oh, I love his stuff. He always seems to find those really cool, off the beaten path kind of adventures. And he makes a really good point right at the beginning about why guidebooks are still so valuable.
Totally. And, he says choosing a guidebook is kind of like choosing a travel buddy.
Interesting.
Like, it's got to be the right fit for your style.
I like that because, yeah, you don't want a guidebook that clashes with how you like to travel, right?
Exactly. Like, do you want something super visual with lots of photos and maps? Or are you more into those detailed descriptions? Really getting lost in the words.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely a visual person myself.
And this is a great tip he has. He says use that look inside feature on Amazon. You can actually peek at the layout of the book, get a sense of the writing style.
Oh, that's smart. Like a little test drive before you fully commit.
Totally. And, he actually talks about his own experience with this. So picture this. It's 2008. He's planning his first big Japan trip. He does a bunch of research online and narrows it down to two of the classics.
Okay, let me guess. Lonely Planet and Nippon? Rough Guide.
Got it. Those are like the heavy hitters of the guidebook world.
It's true. It's like the Coke versus Pepsi of travel guides. I always feel like I have to pick a side.
Uh-huh. Right. And get this. He goes to an actual bookstore to check them out in person.
Okay, that's dedication. I can just imagine him there comparing, contrasting.
Exactly. So he's flipping through them, and he says Lonely Planet had those really eye-catching maps and photos, which he loved, but there was something about the way Rough Guide was written. It just felt more, I don't know, his style, more about those unique experiences he was looking for.
It's funny how sometimes you just connect with a certain vibe. And it sounds like Rough Guy just had that something extra for him.
Totally. But he doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Dyer also talks about moon travel guides, which are a little less well-known but have a really great reputation.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them. They're like the indie darlings of the travel guide world, right?
Exactly. They have a bunch of Japan titles, but he specifically mentions Moon Japan and Moon Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hiroshima.
Okay, so I'm curious what makes them stand out. I mean, besides being a little more under the radar.
Well, he talks about how they really focus on going beyond those typical tourist spots.
Yeah.
Like really getting into the heart of a place. He even points out the cover of Moon Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hiroshima. It has this charming little backstreet izakaya on it, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh, I love that. It's like they're saying, forget the crowds. Let's go find something truly special.
Yes. It's giving hidden gem vibes, for sure. And speaking of finding those hidden gems, Dyer has this really neat trick he uses to kind of test out a guidebook.
Oh, tell me, tell me. I'm always up for a good travel hack.
Okay, so he calls it the know before you go test.
Yeah.
Basically, you read about a place you've already been to.
Ah, clever. I see where you're going with this.
Right. Like, you see if the guidebook's descriptions match up with your own experiences. It helps you figure out if it's the right fit for your travel style.
And if the author is, on the same wavelength as you.
Totally. And it can also be helpful for figuring out if a guidebook is good for repeat visits. Like, does it give you fresh perspectives, new things to discover, or is it just the same old, same old?
Right, right. Because sometimes you want to dive deeper, even if you've been to a place before.
Exactly. And speaking of different perspectives, Dyer actually challenges this idea that guidebooks written by locals are automatically better.
Really? Now that's interesting. I feel like I hear that advice all the time.
Right. Like, go for the local perspective. But Dyer argues that a well-traveled foreigner can actually bring a really unique and valuable perspective to a guidebook.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
So he says that someone coming from outside of Japan can often pinpoint those things that might trip up a traveler who's not familiar with the culture.
Oh, that makes sense. Like those unspoken rules or customs that you might not even realize you're missing.
Exactly. And he even uses the Japanese term gaijin, which basically means outsider, to describe this perspective.
Huh. So he's saying that sometimes being a Gaijin can actually give you a more authentic experience because you're seeing things with fresh eyes.
Exactly. And he even compares Lonely Planet and Rough Guide's writing styles through this lens, like which one is better at capturing that outsider perspective, you know?
Oh, yeah. He talks about how Lonely Planet is great for those nuts and bolts kinds of details, the practical stuff like transportation, accommodation.
The essential info.
Yes. But then he says Rough Guide is all about capturing the essence of a place. It's more about feelings, atmosphere. It's almost like poetry in a way.
It's funny you should say that because it actually reminds me of this quote by Bill Bryson. I'm not quite sure what the essence of a place is, but I know it when I feel it. And based on what you're describing, it sounds like Rough Guide is all about helping you feel that essence.
Totally. He describes it as the vibe, the mood, those things you can't really put into words, but you just know it when you're there.
It's like beyond the facts and figures.
Yeah.
It's the feeling you get when you're standing in a specific place at a specific time.
Yes. And I think that's something really special that a good travel guide can do. It can transport you even before you've even stepped foot in a place.
Absolutely. It's about sparking that wanderlust, that desire to experience it for yourself. And it sounds like that's something that Rough Guide does really well.
For sure. But I also think it's important to remember that everyone's different. Some people might prefer a guidebook that's super practical and to the point.
Yeah. It's all about finding what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. It's like, are you the type of traveler who wants to plan every detail in advance?
Yeah.
Or are you more spontaneous, go with the flow?
Maybe even a little bit of both. It's your trip, your adventure.
Totally. And hey, speaking of travel memories, remember that part in the article where Dyer talks about guidebooks becoming these like little treasure chests of memories?
Oh, absolutely. I love that idea. It's like you tuck away your ticket stubs, those pamphlets you picked up along the way, maybe even a pressed flower.
Yes, and suddenly your guidebook transforms into this time capsule filled with all these little reminders of your journey.
And then years later, you stumble upon it and it all comes flooding back.
It's amazing how powerful those physical objects can be, right? How they can hold so much meaning and memory.
Totally. It's like a sensory experience, just flipping through those pages.
Mm.
And, Dyer makes a really good point. He says if you find yourself needing to replace your guidebook every year because it's out of date, it might not be the right fit.
That's a good point. It's like you want a guidebook that can stand the test of time,
Exactly. Something that you can revisit and still find valuable, even years later. And speaking of revisiting, Dyer actually talks about his experience updating his 2008 Rough Guide to Japan.
Oh, yeah. Did he stick with it, even after all these years?
He did. He said the latest edition actually incorporated some of the things he liked about Lonely Planet. More color photos, better maps, even thicker paper.
Oh, nice. So the best of both worlds.
Right. But ultimately, he says he still prefers Rough Guide's ability to capture that heart and soul of Japan, which makes sense. That's what drew him to it in the first place.
It's all about staying true to your travel style. What resonates with one person might not resonate with another.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder that choosing a guidebook is a really personal thing. Speaking of personal preferences, Dyer did share a funny little anecdote about something he noticed in his updated guidebook.
Oh, no. What happened? Don't tell me they messed up the maps.
Haha. No, not the maps. But he was saying how he was looking through the index,
Yeah.
that super helpful section at the back, and noticed that several of the towns mentioned in the actual guide itself were missing from the index.
Oh, no. That's a major fail. I mean, what's the point of an index if it doesn't even include everything?
Right. It's like having a dictionary with missing words. But even with that little hiccup, it seems like Rough Guide still holds a special place in Dyer's heart.
I love that. It's like that old reliable friend, even with their quirks.
Totally. They're always evolving. I feel like travel guides these days have to find that balance between being classic and contemporary. Keeping up with the times, but not losing that essence that makes them special.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a tough balance to strike. And it's funny, Dyer actually mentions that even though the new edition of his Rough Guide has fewer pages than his 2008 copy, it's physically thicker.
Really? That is interesting. I wonder if it's because of the thicker paper he was talking about.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you it's often those little details that make all the difference.
Totally. And even though Dyer seems to have a clear preference for Rough Guide, he's aware that not everyone feels the same way. He even mentions that at the time he wrote his article, Lonely Planet was actually the #1 bestseller in Amazon's Japan guidebook category.
Which just goes to show it's all about finding that perfect fit for you.
Absolutely. And speaking of finding the perfect fit, remember that part where Dyer mentions this website called wordery.com?
Oh, yeah. I'm all ears. Was he talking about book deals? because I am here for a good bargain.
Me too. And yes, apparently he was searching for his updated guidebook and he stumbled across wordery.com, and they had the same edition of his rough guide to Japan, but at a much lower price than Amazon.
No way. Score. I love when that happens. It's like striking gold.
It's the best. And he said they even offered free worldwide delivery.
That's dangerous information. I'm already adding it to my bookmark.
I know, right. It's like, gotta love a good deal, especially on something you're already planning to buy.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, speaking treasures, we were talking about those guidebooks becoming like little memory holders, packed with all those little souvenirs and things.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens, right? They become way more than just a guidebook. It's like they tell the story of your trip.
Totally. Ticket stubs, those little maps they give you at museums, maybe a napkin from your favorite restaurant.
Oh, totally. Or like a dried flower. I've totally done that. Stuck it right in the pages.
Yes. It's like that feeling when you find an old photo album and you're instantly transported back.
The best. It's like reliving those memories. And those old guidebooks, they really become like a part of your travel history.
So true. They reflect your experiences, where you've been, what you loved. So as we're starting to wrap up our deep dive here, what are some key takeaways? If someone's listening, thinking about their own Japan trip, what should they remember when they're trying to pick the right guidebook?
I think the biggest thing is there's no one best guidebook, It's really about what works for you, how you like to travel.
Like we were saying earlier, it's like choosing a travel buddy, someone who's on the same page as you, who makes the trip even better.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to try something a little different. We talked about those moon travel guides earlier. Those are great for those travelers who want to dig a little deeper, find those hidden gems.
Yes. And I think it's smart to get a sneak peek before you commit, right? Use that look inside feature on Amazon, or if you're in a bookstore, flip through a few pages.
Exactly. Get a feel for the vibe, the layout. See if it sparks your interest.
Or like a first date, right?
Right.
You want to see if there's a connection. And don't forget that know before you go test that Dyer talks about.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Read about a place you've already been. Does it match up with your experience? Would you recommend those places?
It's a really simple but effective way to see if the guidebook aligns with your style, like if it's recommending places you'd actually want to go.
Uh-huh.
And lastly, I think it's important to be open to different perspectives, right? Like we talked about how local insights are super valuable, but a different viewpoint, maybe from a seasoned traveler, can also be really eye-opening.
Totally. Like having a cultural guide, helping you navigate those little nuances that can make a big difference.
Exactly. So yeah, find that guidebook that not only gives you the practical info, but also really gets you excited about the trip.
The one that makes you want to hop on that plane and explore, and who knows, maybe it'll even become that little treasure chest of memories we were talking about, filled with all the amazing experiences you have along the way.
I love that. A tangible reminder of your Japan adventure. Well, for everyone listening, if you want to learn more about Rob Dyer's insights, his website is The Real Japan. We'll be sure to link it in the show notes so you can check it out.
Definitely worth a read if you're planning a trip to Japan.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What one word captures your ideal Japan trip? Let that word guide you as you plan, and choose that perfect guidebook to unlock the magic of Japan.